You're listening to the Coakley Report. Steve Coakley is live and uncensored. Steve, are you with me?
Yes, sir. I'm here and ready to roll.
That is good to hear, man. You've been through the mill here lately. Why don't you let everybody know what's been going on in your life?
Well, we'll entitle this program "In from the Outback," because you almost lost me there for a minute, Matt. Audience, community, neighborhood, country, world. Strange thing happened. I would imagine that I could attest that me as a person, my life's ambition, my metaphysical responsibility has been to oppose some of the richest and most powerful people in the world. I feel that over the years, many communities have sought to avoid conflict with the rich and the powerful. In the recent year, we have seen develop amongst the people the concept of one versus the 99, which in effect is a appropriate formula for understanding the power dynamic. I have, with you and many others, have identified that 0.1% of the people who own and operate the world. They assembled in the late 1800s through a alliance between Cecil Rhodes and Rothschild, a plot to develop world domination. They sought to control countries by controlling its leaders, its resources, its media, its government, and as a result have sought to have the world adhere to their wishes and to their desires. I have stood to oppose them. Many people use the word Illuminati. I use the word Rhodes and Rothschild, as Carol Quigley denoted in his denoting a secret society formed by Rhodes and Rothschild that used a formation of a circle within a circle, an inner circle or circle of initiates, and an outer circle association of helpers. As a result, I have, over the years, been targeted by the rich and the powerful who, last night a group of guys were reminding me of a period when there was assassination attempt on myself and my children, where a unidentified car shot through the windows in front of my mother's apartment building in the 90s, after we had just done a lecture on the assassination of Martin King, revealing those people who have assisted in that assassination. In the 80s, late 80s, they reminded me of when I was attacked as special assistant to the mayor of Chicago, and all the rich and the powerful of Chicago and the country came together to force the mayor to fire me on May 5th of 1988, which you could look up on many information sources. And this attack was a result of my identifying the rich and the powerful as a priority interest to be against. Many people have alleged to be against the Illuminati or the secret societies, but they don't identify them specifically and have failed to come up with a identifiable strategy. to eliminate or neutralize their influence over the masses of the people. If a few hundred people run the world, what do the rest of the people do? Do they enjoy their life's ambitions? We're looking at 30% of the houses going into foreclosure. We're looking at people jobless all around the country. We're looking at military being used in urban cities. We're looking at contrived conflict between countries because the uniting of the so-called communists and capitalists. And as a result, the people have become the primary enemy. And as a representative of the people, I have been targeted. Most recently, in the last week of December, mysteriously, I fell unconscious in my home, and for 8 days, I was totally out. I have no memory of the 8 days that I was unconscious at Torrance Hospital. And in fact, if it had not been for a friend who, upon persistence, was able to come to the hospital where I was located, and he put on his cell phone the picture, the film of me on life support. That's right, I could not breathe. Somehow the attack on myself, as similar attacks have most recently felled the key brother in Dallas, a sister with a stroke in Los Angeles, the death of Khalid Muhammad and Ishimuro Barashango on the East Coast, and around the country, key people have fallen at home to death. Quite inappropriately, significant people, maybe not known by everyone, but in the community, excessively useful in the areas where they preside. I believe this is a systematic program. I believe the rich and the powerful are prepared for overt world domination, and as a result, they are systematically and violently eliminating all possible opposition, and I am an opposer of this rich and powerful secret society, circle within a circle, Illuminati program for world control. And having gone unconscious for 8 days on life support, you will have, I will make available to truthmovement.com the video of me on life support. What you will see is a tube in my mouth. You will see a tube in my neck. You will see a tube in my side. You will see another tube in my stomach. And you will see a breathing apparatus that is all over my face, keeping me alive. Unbeknownst to me, I had major surgery. When I woke up in the second hospital, I had 37 staples where I had been cut open from the bottom of my rib cage to below my navel. And something was done inside my stomach. I felt none of that. In fact, the only thing I felt was in the third hospital, because they kept moving me around. In the third hospital, when they pulled out one of the staples, I felt a little pinch. But outside of this, it was painless, but physically, it was devastating. I could not even walk. My memory was inhibited, and even today, as I look into my cell phone, where I have only numbers and no names, I cannot recall or identify all of the people, and am just gradually every day gaining more consciousness as this was a devastating attack. I am glad to be alive. It had to be a divine intervention for my purpose, and my responsibility in life obviously is not completed, and I was brought back. And I thank God on the seventh day of being unconscious. And you will be able to view this. On the seventh day, doctors at Torrance Hospital requested of my family the right to unplug me from life support. And now, just to remind the audience, Khalid Muhammad, our dear brother, was unplugged on his fourth day or so in the hospital from life support, and didn't have 7 or 8 or 9 days as happened in my behalf. The doctors asked to unplug me from life support to my family, and thank God my son Stephen, my 2 daughters, informed the doctor that they did not want me to be unplugged until they arrived in California from the various cities where they reside, which would have probably arrived on the 9th day. On the 8th day, with the insistence of a friend, one person who got to go to the hospital, who kept pleading that I wake up, please wake up. Come on, man. They're going to unplug you, man. You're going to be gone. We need you, brother. We need you, brother. On the 8th day, with my eyes fluttering, as I'm trying to wake up, but my eyes won't allow the lids to open, my hand reaches up and tries to pull loose the breathing apparatus from my face, and the nurse comes, the person there at my bedside informs the nurse. The nurse comes in and pushes the apparatus back in my mouth. I reach back up with my right hand, and I pull the apparatus out of my mouth, still with my eyes closed, still unconscious, literally, because I don't even remember any of this. This was a reflex because I had no idea of any of this. And if the man at the hospital, Brother Steve, had not filmed this, I would never have believed what you will see was being inflicted upon my body. I never would have believed it, that I made it back from what you'll see off of his cell phone that he had hidden under his arm. There were 7 valves of fluid on the stem going into my body, and there were 3 monitors. In fact, at one point, one of the monitors dipped straight down, and the number 10 showed up, and an emergency procedure was done to do something to me or for me that allowed me to live. I don't know what all happened. I only can view, like you would, the fact that one of these monitors, and you know it goes like a little wave as your heart is beating, went down, and the number 10 showed up underneath it. I don't know what all that means. Eventually, I will secure my medical records from the 3 hospitals that I was in before I was able to leave the hospital and get up and walk a little bit with a walker. On this 8th day, then my family was contacted that I was somehow breathing on my own, and I believe on the 9th day they moved me to another hospital, of which I couldn't even tell you the name. still only semi-conscious, and I remained there for several days before they moved me to a third hospital. It's as if anytime somebody began to get close to help me, I was moved. At the third hospital, thank God, one of the nurses, licensed practical nurse, and one of the physical therapists were people who had attended my lectures over the years. The brother, the nurse, had attended a lecture of mine in Compton, in California, and the therapist, a woman, had attended my lecture at Howard University in 1993. And they overly assisted me and protected me until I was able to get out of the hospital. And even at the end, as they tried to put me in a hospice and tuck me away for months, probably from where I never would have recovered or would have been put under further attack, I was able to deceive the hospital, believe to come home, and once I got home, I grabbed some things and went out to a secure position where I am now, in a very costly secure position, to regain strength and health such that when I assume back into the public, I will be strong enough to resist further attack. I am glad to be alive. I recognize that I'm a marked man because of the people that I have targeted. I have gone city to city and identified the power structure. Usually in a lecture, I talk about the rich and the powerful in the world domination program. I then talk about the world dominators in their local area. I then talk about the assisters, the Sigma Pi Phi Boule guardian animal assisters of our community, the African American community, who protect the rich and the powerful. And that power dynamic has resulted in the few being close as ever to total world domination to the advantage of only a few hundred people. They could be bum rushed at a minute's notice. I mean, there are millions of people who are subjugated to. 3 billion poor who make less than $100 a month do not have a strategy to oppose the people who have subjugated them. Out of 6-7 billion, 3-4 billion are excessively poor, and a few more are moderately poor and ignorant. A few are educated and desire to be a part of the program for world control or aspire wealth, property, bank account, and security, not knowing that the program for world control will eventually subjugate them too. I did a lecture years ago called "Can I Cut a Hole in Your Fence?" And I had a friend draw a picture of a free person cutting a hole in the fence and asking the victims to come out and be free. And they hesitated. For freedom has a responsibility. Are you prepared to run the street lights, pave the streets, run the banking system, feed the people? Are you prepared to assume the leadership? Because until the people are prepared to assume the leadership, God will never give the people the opportunity, and the world dominators will continue. Because the people would not be prepared to assume the responsibility of the future. And we have developed a strategy pawns link together, and this makes me a target. I've lost everything I've ever had 4, 5, 6 times in life. I got 2 pairs of shoes, couple of pairs of pants, shirt or 2 that they tore off my sweater, one of my good sweaters and shirts, evidently when I went unconscious. Because when I woke up in the second hospital, I saw them over in the chair. Clothes were all torn up. I said, Dad, them was my good clothes. And I have no personal wealth. I have no bank account. I have no money. But I do have a lot of friends who have come and supported me, including you, Matt, people who have pitched in to keep me away and safe and secure. And even today, I need your help, that you can assist me to remain independent until a safe and secure residence and security have been established so that I continue my work, which obviously had to be divine inspired because they had me. They physically had me. And having been attacked for 30 years, we have survived each and every attack, and I know they're not finished. They will try and try again. They have the whole world and the entire system at their behest to try to knock out real opposition. There's pretended opposition, people who voice that they're against the subjugation of the people, but in fact really have no strategy and really are being paid to appear to be against the rich and the powerful. And we have over the years identified what we call the fake leadership. And they recognize that we are a threat to the program for control. I have friends in every city, faceless, nameless people. And at some point in the future, we will manifest in various zones to prepare responsibility for food, medicine, and leadership. And then at some point, we will all come together. But reality has taught us that whoever unfairly ruled against the people have somehow systematically failed. We talk about the Tower of Babel theory, where people rise so high they begin to speak and can't understand each other. You know, I look at the Republican political dynamic, and even though mere politics are associates of the power structure and have no real power, you can see how each one fights one and no one can get ahead of the other. That's symbolic of what will happen amongst the rich and the powerful. So we must prepare. Some of the opposition to them will be self-inflicted. It is their destiny because of their emphasis on equality. You must have faith. You must believe that life has taught us this over all the centuries, that if you rule unfairly, you fall because of one form or the other. There is no doubt. And you know, if you look out now, look at the rise in oil prices, where they know that there's no real opposition against the rise of oil prices. Years ago, I had developed a coalition against high-ash oil prices. And we were effective in setting the psychology that the oil barons, Exxon Mobil, now known as Exxon, BP Amoco, now known as BP, ConocoPhillips, now known as Conoco, Chevron Texaco, now known as Chevron, the consolidation of these major oil companies who boards of directors are representatives of the rich and the powerful. Some of the largest profit makers in the history of the world are being led by 4 or 5 companies called speculators who have artificially raised the price of oil, even though the consumption of oil has gone down near 20%. The demand for oil has gone down almost 20% in the last couple of months, which should in fact make the price of oil go down. But the speculators have risen the price of oil, and the people remain helpless, and the perpetrators have yet to be identified. And the eventual follow-up to this program, we will again name the names of those 4 or 5 speculator companies and identify thoroughly the current board of directors of the 4 or 5 major oil companies. And if you use Yahoo Finance, you will see the top 10 investors, the top 10 mutual fund benefactors, and the top 10 individuals of oil stock who have received an excessive windfall as a result of the inability of the people to oppose them, because the rise of these prices is artificial. Who are those speculators, those 4 companies? Search out them in preparation for the next show that we have that'll follow up on this one. Hit up Yahoo Finance and look at the benefactors in those 3 sections of the various oil stocks. Hit up Exxon and on Yahoo Finance, and it will show you who these benefactors are, the top 30, 10 in each of the 3 sections. Look at their board of directors who make $100,000, $200,000 to be part-time supervisors of oil domination. There are so few people who own and control the world. Ignorance. If you turn to the news, crime story, murder story, crime story, murder story, they don't talk about the rich and the powerful. Yesterday on CNN, I was surprised. They did a little special called A Day in the Life of a Speculator. And they showed the Mercantile Exchange oil pit, all white, and they were trading oil stock, which had risen at least 16% quite recently. And they pretended to be discussing. T. Boone Pickens said, we need the rise in oil prices due to the possible crisis in Iran. Because they always have a crisis. And if they don't have one, they'll make one to have an excuse for world domination. How much profit can a man eat? Can you eat all day, your stomach gets so fat? If you get so fat, you become unable to walk. Or you can make so much money, you'd be unable to talk. So there is the possibility that greed can self-inflict pain upon those few hundred benefactors of world domination. And I believe you probably can hit up on CNN that day in the life of a oil speculator. They didn't identify anybody. They pretended like, oh my God, how did this oil go up? 1 or 2 people did say, hey, why is oil going up when use of oil has gone down? It did raise the question, but they neither had a solution, nor did they identify the perpetrators. Or CNN is a corporate entity that the dominators of CNN, I believe, I have to be more accurate. I believe it's Time Warner. Not quite sure. though I have it written down. I just don't want to falsely accuse anybody. But it's a corporation, have stock in the oil windfall. Therefore, have no interest to get to the bottom of anything. ABC, NBC, straight Rockefeller owned. They're not going to reveal who's perpetrating oil stock when it's their television network or radio network. They're just not going to do it. So the centralization of world power has continued. And that's been my focus. And that has been why I'm been targeted for assassination on several occasions. For the plot for world control depends upon eliminating all opposition, no matter how small or no matter how large, no matter what color, no matter what organization. They seek to destroy all opposition in this program for world control.
Steve,
I could use your help. You can call me. There's much of me on the internet, none of which I've ever put on there. My phone number is area code 202-256-2097, area code 202-256-2097, and put your ear up to truthmovement.com, as in the follow-up show, we will identify specifically the benefactors of rising oil prices. Yes, Matt.
I wanted to ask you about, so much has happened since we've talked. Of course, Obama signed the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, which kind of gets into what you're talking about here, giving the right to any administration from this point forward to assassinate any American anywhere at any time without any charges. I wanted to get your take on that.
No law. Obama could create any law which is merely symbolic. Don't be deceived that there needed to be a law to kill somebody.
That's a
they
good
have
point.
Killed any and everybody at any time they so desired. Law has never been a factor. So I don't want anybody to believe that something just happened yesterday or a month ago that makes them do something that they've been doing for 300 years.
Right. Yep, that makes sense. What is your take on the death of Andrew Breitbart?
Well, all extreme. He was an extremist from the right wing.
No doubt.
From the left wing. Extremists in Afrocentrism. Extremists in the little right-wing movements are being ostracized and eliminated. At 43, I was watching CNN. They said he died of natural causes. There is no such thing as natural causes.
So do you think he was murdered?
He is not a priority of my interest.
Right.
The fact that he has died is insignificant because he is a propagator of power, but he himself has none. He has, over the years, revealed things that the rich and the powerful has assisted him in communicating his revelations, but he's not in our organization. He's not a part of our flock. He doesn't represent our interests, and in fact, he probably would be against me if he had the opportunity.
Absolutely, he's an agitator. That's what his position has always been, and I don't know what to make of it. I just wanted to get your opinion.
All extremists are being eliminated of all angles, or they take them in the same light. Right, left, up, down, black, white. You must take out the extremes before you attack the middle.
So you almost think this is like a.
Now they're in the middle.
Do you think this is like a culling of anybody that speaks out too much?
Absolutely, if they speak out against the rich and the powerful. Speaking out can be done in many forms. Look at how the people have delved into iPods and all these electronic contraptions. Even though, now look at what has happened. Google, front page a couple of days ago, we're on all 36 million, 300 and something million or whatever Google users, and all of these Facebooks and all of these Anglo-Saxon Zionist corporations have revealed to the people that they're watching their every thought that they use when they use these instruments. That hasn't stopped them from using them. You know, I got a cup and some long string to talk to my friends because person to person or cup and string are the only things that are not being intercepted in the form of communication.
That's true.
We can talk publicly. We're an honest operation. We're not illegal or conspiratorial. We don't seek to kill anyone, which would be a crime. But we do want to oppose the program for world control. And we can say, by any means necessary, but we do not seek to harm anyone in the form that represents an illegal operation. America is a criminal enterprise formed in 1776 that crucified 140 million people who lived in America when the Pilgrims came. So this is an illegal criminal enterprise, or a RICO, and as a right, they are a crime operation, and victims have the right to oppose them and eliminate them because of their criminal enterprise. That is the foundation of the challenge. And I just put that out there in that context.
Let me ask you this, Steve. You once said that, you know, the way that the country was going and has been going for 30 years, that Barack Obama might be our very last president. Do you see that us plunging into some kind of economic collapse that is unrecoverable?
I don't remember saying that Obama would be the last president.
You said he could be. You didn't say that he would be. He said that he could be. This was like our last chance.
I don't even remember that.
Okay.
As having said that, and if you at any time can identify the date, time, and place of such a comment, I will assume responsibility. They will use government as long as possible, as long as people adhere to government. It doesn't revolve around an individual.
Okay.
Obama is not the instigator of the program for world control. You've identified him twice as a perpetrator, but it didn't start with him, and it won't end with him. He is just another spoke on the wheel of oppression.
Right.
And he doesn't run the government.
Nope.
He is the president, but no president has ever run the government. They have never owned and controlled America. Their wealth is a few million at best. Several congressmen have multiple millions, or maybe one or two might have a billion. You have 435 Congress people, 100 senators, and you have governors, 50 governors, and state representatives, and state senators, and city council people in every state. They all stay together in the program for world control. There are a few who oppose them. What's happening in the American cities? They're going bankrupt.
Yeah.
Why? Because the financiers are refusing to finance these cities. What's happening at the banks? If you don't have a $10,000 account, they don't want you anymore. What is that about? So people by the millions are flooding into credit unions. What is that about? That the banks that in 2008 couldn't save themselves had to be assisted by the government, and now the same government has allowed them to suggest in the public you must be $10,000 or even $100,000 in an account to have free checking. What is that garbage about? Who opposes that?
I definitely oppose it. I think most Americans oppose it too. It's unfortunate that I guess what they're doing is pushing the middle class down into the poor, and if you're not rich enough to have a $10,000 bank account, then you're going to pay for it.
And what are they going to do with them when they push them down?
That's a good question. I mean, what can they do with them? They can't. I mean, honestly, this power structure has attempted to control the people since our inception, but they've never been able to do it completely. So they might be digging themselves an even bigger hole.
Well, metaphysically, those who rose to rule unfairly have failed.
That's true.
But I don't believe now it's because of some identifiable opposition. You tell me where you think the flank is that's going to oppose the program for world control in a significant and organized basis.
The only place that I've even seen a glimmer of hope on the horizon has to do with the technology that the world structure has committed themselves to, and that they don't understand completely. And we happen to be living in the first time in history where children are able to operate machinery better than adults, and I think that might be a good sign that maybe if the power structure puts all of their eggs into technology, the technology basket, that somehow it might backfire. But that's just hope on my part.
And possibly the enemy could unplug technology.
Right.
What they developed it, they assume great profit from it, and if you start something, you possibly have the ability to stop something. What the people created is what can last forever. So if it's self-developed, it can sustain itself against attack. But if it needs the assistance of the enemy to communicate, then look at the hackers. I think they just arrested 16 hackers in various countries because controlling technology, eventually they can identify their opposition. If you use their instruments, you're vulnerable to counter pressure from them. And I believe, I don't want to make it sound fatalistic, and you my buddy, I don't want to be shall we say impatient with you or anybody who believes that there is amongst the people real opposition to the program for world control, because there is. So I don't want to make it seem like all is lost, because
that's good. I mean, honestly, Steve, that's refreshing in today's environment to hear something like that from somebody like you, because I mean, for the most part, people, it's like the doomsdayers. They, all hope is lost kind of mentality out there, which is a massive groupthink psychosis. And so it's good to hear you say that.
I know when the 99 first developed, before they were taken over by others who made them form committees, made them have to liberate what they would do before they do it, instead of just getting up at 8 and meeting at noon and moving on the enemy at 2. Now they got to deliberate everything. I did see in the beginning they were Rockefeller, they were at the banks, they were at Wall Street. Just in the last couple of days, they have gone back to Wall Street and have gone back to the banks and to the homes of the rich. I know they even walked on Rockefeller early on in the 99 movement. They went to the house of the rich and the powerful. That's the kind of street power that will, in fact, make the perpetrators of domination feel pressure and begin to change. They'll give you half of what you want to prevent you from getting all of what you want. And That's been historically known. I remember just symbolically in the Iranian Revolution in '79 when Khomeini was having all of the people come out and refuse to function as a capitalist system or a dominant system under the Shah. They went out and got Bakir, and they came up with a moderate or a change which was half of what the people wanted. But people wanted it all, and eventually did not budge until Bakir was removed and Khomeini became the leader. So they will adjust to protect themselves if they are faced with real opposition. But if you have a program and a plan, you won't fall for the half of the loaf. You will assume responsibility for all of the loaf. I don't want to get into what has happened over the years in Iran. I only symbolically want to voice what happened in '79 when the power gave up half the power to prevent the citizens from wanting all of the power, which eventually they got.
Well, so where do we go from here?
I was just getting ready to say, Matt, where do we go from here?
I was hoping you were going to tell me.
As we say, enough said.
Well, Steve, I'm just happy to hear that you're doing better.
I appreciate the opportunity to get communicate. They could just as easily knock this off. We could go to the internet and boom, they could shut it down or take off our commentary or mix up our words or have somebody to conflict what we say. Surely they have if they have the opportunity, maybe not the right, but they surely have the opportunity to oppose the things we say and do. So I believe it always has to be a righteous challenge to the system. For only that, with the assistance of all powers, whether you believe in God or you believe in metaphysics or whatever you believe in or whatever you know. But some people have no belief system. There is a righteous way to oppose what is victimizing the people, and such a righteous challenge cannot be denied.
Amen.
All right, so look in. We want the people to look at the little video. If you look at the video of me on life support, it needed a commentary, because if you look at it with all them tubes and stuff on me, you would think I died right after that, because I was up for death. Believe me, I was and am probably still a marked man. For there are a few opposing, and I say to you, Matt, you have to be careful. I have called all my friends in the various cities and asked them to be careful. I just did a radio show in Chicago and another in Baltimore. Next week we'll be back in Atlanta, Baltimore, Chicago, Seattle. We're working on now to communicate to all the people that they have to dig in and be prepared for. They might not know it. The people are more significant than they ever thought, and the sub leadership around the country is under attack, and they must be careful.
Well, I'm just glad we're still here talking with you, Steve, because in the end, people may not realize how close you came to checking out, and honestly, when it gets down to the point where they want to unplug you, and it's a friend who somehow, through some kind of premonition, was feeling like, after hearing one of your shows, feeling like, I need to get in touch with Steve. And if it wasn't for that friend trying his best to get in touch with you and track you down and find where you were, and then standing up for you while you were in that condition, we wouldn't be here talking with you today. You wouldn't be part of...
And my son and my daughters and my exes, because the two mothers of my children and my three children stood united that I not be unplugged, and they deliberated my destiny, and because I was unconscious. And I thank God for all of them, and even especially my son, who had responsibility at 29 years old. He did not allow them to unplug me. And, boy, we wouldn't be here today. And we got many more to come.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, here's to a speedy recovery. Anything I can do for you, just let me know. And whenever you want to do another one of these shows, let's do it.
Well, we have voiced the desire to identify specifically again before the public the benefactors of rising oil prices. So tune in for the next Coakley Report in from the Outback as we name the names of the benefactors of the Program for World Control.
Amen. All right, that was Steve Coakley in the Coakley Report. Like he said, you better tune into the next one. He's going to name the names.
Thank you, Max Z.
Thank you, Steve Coakley. And, speedy recovery, brother, and just keep in touch. Anything that I can do, let me know.
Thank you, sir.